Let's get into when and how to create a 2027 planner. Welcome back to the Dream Printing Podcast. I'm your host, Polly Payne. I'm so glad you're here. If we haven't met before, I am the founder of Horacio Printing. I have been creating luxury paper products for the last 11 years. Not sure when you're watching this, but we're in the midst of launching our 2026 Dream Planner collection. I'm gonna be working on my 2027 Dream Planner collection, and I wanna really take you behind the curtain of what the timeline looks like to make a legit, beautiful, luxury, paper snob approved product and how the big companies do it. We're not going to go over print on demand. We're not going to talk about crappy stuff. We're not going to talk about Amazon KDP. We're not going to talk about ways to make something janky. We're going to talk about how to really create a luxury paper product and what the timeline would look like if you want to make one for 2027. I'm going to share with you what are the rookie mistakes that we don't want to make. We're going to go through really working backwards, especially if this is your first time. I'll also share what my timeline is going to look like so you can kind of follow along. So when you're doing it the first time, it takes a little bit longer, and that's okay because you're creating something for the first time. And maybe you're watching this and you already have your design done. So you'll be able to really kind of get a grip on a clear view of the process, the timeline, because the one thing I don't want you to have is unrealistic expectations, which leads to disappointment, which could lead you to abandon your dream. I want you to fulfill your dream. I want you to hold your luxury paper product in your hand like hundreds of my students have before. So grab a journal, grab a calendar, turn off all your notifications, and let's really lock in to really understand your timeline so you can have a successful launch. All right, let's get into it. Before we do, I have a special invitation for you. I actually have a 5-day challenge. It's right here at dreamprinting.co/challenge, where I go through this even more in depth. It's 5 days, but you can do it as fast as you want. It's basically 5 hours of training plus a bonus training and a workbook. And we actually work out your timeline together. So if you want to do this more in depth and really dig in, this challenge will be your next step to take after you finish today's video. So hopefully we give you some food for thought. Alrighty, so let's talk about some of the rookie mistakes that I really don't want you to make that I've seen a lot of people in this industry make. The first big rookie mistake is ordering too late. It's September and you want to launch a planner for the next year. I'm sorry, you're too late. There are other options. You could make a digital planner. You could print something locally and just have a small group of your friends test it for the year, kind of have a focus group of sorts. You could spend that time giving away some of your PDF pages as a freebie and build your audience and work on audience building and really push to the next year. You could also do an undated product first. Lots of people pivot to an undated product versus a dated product because dated products are really tied to a strict timeline. If you order too late, you can end up having to pay for ridiculously expensive rush shipping, which takes away all your margin. We don't want that. You need margin, you need profit. So that's one thing. Another rookie mistake I've seen is selling it too late. You don't want to launch a dated planner in December or definitely not January. Even November is really late. So we're going to talk about when you should start selling. And I would say the worst rookie mistake is, well, maybe not the worst, but another one that's pretty bad is just having a low quality product. Not to say it's impossible, but if you are like me and you're a paper snob, it's going to be hard to sell something if you don't love it. And there's just something really special about getting your luxury paper product and being like, oh, I love it so much. And then every time someone buys it, they're like, oh my gosh, it's better than I expected. Like, that's what we want. That's what I want for you. That's why people come to me to learn from me, because my products come in luxury packaging. They have tabs, an elastic strap. They have bookmarks. They've got pockets. Of course, Polly has her pockets. It has stickers. It has accessories. It comes in a dust bag, like an expensive leather purse. So if you want to have a luxury experience and really bless your customers in that way, come learn from me. That's what I'm here for. So in this lesson, I'm going to help you understand each stage of the timeline. We're going to understand what date would you like to have it delivered by. And then from there, you'll really understand, when should I get started on this? Because you guys know, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. That's right. If you fail to plan, you're going to plan to fail. So here's the thing. If you could plan all you want, but if you have never done this before, you're bound to not know what you're doing. And that's okay. You're not supposed to know what you're doing. You've never done this before. I've done this before. Let me help you with this. Okay. So one of the things that I help my students to not have unrealistic expectations is I built this tool. It's really the product timeline tool. It has multiple tabs. There's a sandbox tab, which is a tab you can play in. And it really helps you to understand, if you plugged in today's date, what are all my options based on how fast I could go? When might I get my products? If I airship versus boat ship? If I added in a Kickstarter campaign to raise the funds, how does that change my deadline? And it just has all these different tools that really support you to make the right decision. And this is something that we do at the beginning of the program. You build out your timeline. And also, if you want to take my challenge at dreamprinting.co/challenge, we do a abbreviated version of this in the challenge. So that's really helpful too. So we're going to get started right now. And I think the best way to do this, at least for my mind, is to work backwards. If you've ever gone to prom or maybe helped coordinate a wedding day, it's like, if I have to be at the church at this time, I've got to be in the taxi at this time. I've got to be, dress on at this time, taking pictures at this time. You know what I mean? Like hair and makeup, blah, blah, blah. So let's work backwards on when you want to sell it. And I'm specifically going to be walking you through a dated product, a 2027 planner. That's what this video is about. Obviously, you can use this towards anything you want to make. And if you're doing an undated product, you're not as tied to the deadline of this date. So if you are selling a dated product, here is the rule of thumb. Ideally, you want to sell that product, start selling it at least 3 months before you want to start using it. There are some exceptions, like an Easter devotional or a Lent devotional. Not all of them are sold 3 months in advance, but maybe 2 months. So some things are a little different, but you definitely want to give your product enough time to obviously get to the customer before they want to use it, but enough time for them to get the product and then maybe go, wow, this is great. I want to go buy more. And there's time to go buy more, to give gifts, and it arrives. So you want to give your product enough runway to actually sell enough, right? So you want to capitalize, especially for a dated planner that starts in January. You want to have time to those to land in people's hands. You want to have time for, if you want to do any influencer or PR campaigns, like you want them to land in people's hands. It's hard to do a PR campaign if you can't ship anything out. It's almost impossible. So you want to have time to get it in people's hands and then go, oh, well, this is great. Black Friday is here. Holiday shopping's here. You don't want to launch after Black Friday. I've seen people do it. It's not that you can't do it. If you're doing a really small first year launch and you have a very small amount of inventory, you can do whatever you want to do. But rule of thumb, you start to see the 2027 planners launch September, maybe even August, mostly September and October is that range. I always launch October 1st or around that date. So in terms of the timeline, I'm going to have my timeline chalkboard right here. So I can, I'll scoot over here so you guys can see what we're working with here. So if we want to be selling in September, October, let's go ahead and put a delivery date. This is the delivery date we want to be the end of September. So like by the end of the month in September, my products are in my warehouse, they're in my garage, however you end up doing fulfillment, which we teach fulfillment, customer service, how to set up your Shopify website. All of that is taught in Print School to support you in that journey. So let's say September 30th, like that's the day we want it delivered. If that's the day we want it delivered, we would want it to be shipping out from the printer July 15th. That would give you enough space here for it to be securely delivered. So that's the date. Now you might go, oh my gosh, that's so much time. Yeah, that's so much time. That's why when people release a book, like, let's say, let me give a name of a person, Allie Worthington. She's lovely. Let's say Allie Worthington or Bob Goff is releasing a book. If they write that book's not getting on a shelf for a year and a half because publishers are going to take the slow road. The slow road makes more profit. And with the margins in publishing as they are, especially for a novel, that you can only sell for maximum $20 or so, $21. Maybe have bought a book for $24. You know what I mean? Like it's slim margins. Luckily with planners, I sell mine at $64 each. So I'll teach you how to make, the luxury stuff profitable. You're going to need enough time. So that is the shipping out date. If we want to ship out July 15th, we need to start printing this sucker June 15th. June 15th. So there's the printing date. So from June 15th to July 15th, it's printing. From July 15th to September 30th, it's shipping and getting to your warehouse. Now that time they're packing it in the boxes, they're putting it on a boat, the boat's going across the ocean, it's being imported, it's being delivered via truck. And when it comes to delivery and importing and all of that, that's another big thing that I teach inside of Print School. I know in 2025, we had all the crazy tariffs and scares and, what's going to happen? And that was scary. I'm not going to say it wasn't, right? It was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We ended up looking at over 50 different printers around the world to find additional options. We have 3 current printers that we absolutely adore, and we've let our students also contribute who they love. We have the printer on record for different companies that we love. But here's the deal. With all those printers we reached out to, we still love ours the most. And I printed products from all 3 printers in 2025. And because of our relationships with these printers and the research we were able to do, we were not impacted by any tariffs. So we were able to find our exemption codes and be exempt. And this is the same thing I was able to help my students with. And so that was a wild roller coaster, but it ended really well. And we're still very, very confident with that. And Horacio printing's not going away. I'm in the same boat with all of my students, importing and supporting them. And so that's another big benefit. Like you will never find that anywhere else, the community and the support and just the expertise that we have because we've been doing this for 11 years. So anyways, if you have more questions about that, feel free to ask. So the printing starts June 15th. If you want printing to start June 15th, that really means you need to have your sample approved by June 15th. And sometimes once you get your sample, you realize, I really want to change something. So giving yourself some time for sample approval, let's say your sample arrives in your hand by June 1st so that you can print by June 15th. And that gives you 15 days to tweak anything that I didn't realize the cover was going to look like that. I kind of want to change the color a little bit. We had that happen with our floral planners for 2026. Whenever the samples got printed, they looked like a deep chocolatey bronze, and we wanted it to look golden. So we had to completely go into the file and edit it, bring out more golden hues, and have them reprint the cover to make sure that we loved it. So it doesn't always happen that way, but you want to give yourself wiggle room, right? We always want to have more space, more margin in our life, more margin in the way we do business. So we're not under the gun, stressed out with cortisol levels going nuts, snapping at your husband, yelling at your kids. I'm only speaking from Obviously, I've never done that before. Just kidding. No, I don't want that for you. And that's why after doing this so many times, this is the best way to do the timeline. I do promise you that. Okay, so sample needs to land in your hands by June 1st of 2026. So that means you want to order your sample on May 1st. So yay, here's May. That's when we're going to be ordering samples. Now, if we want to order our sample by May 1st, what you have to do before ordering your sample is preparing your files, making sure they are absolutely ready for the printer so that they can give you the best possible sample. Because you really don't want to print 100 samples to get to the right one. You want to try to nail it the first time as much as you can. So that's why you want to have a nice juicy time for ideation, designing, editing, and testing. Ideation, design, editing, testing. And you don't want to do this alone in a vacuum, because guess what? Your eyes will miss something. You need fresh eyes. You need a proper editor. You need someone to look over your stuff. I know I do. I misspell everything. I miss stuff all the time. Sometimes I have a really critical eye, but so often I don't. And so, like, for example, I misspelled the name Horacio when I started my company. Like, I misspelled it. I lived on Horatio Street with a T. Womp, womp, womp. And I spelled Horatio with a C. And I was so embarrassed. I almost wanted to quit before I got started, but we just rolled with it. Now we are Horacio Printing. And that's okay. You know, mistakes happen. And so anyways, I say that to encourage you. If I can do this, you can do this. We all make mistakes. So I would say from February to April is your time for ideation, design, tweaks, testing, getting it printed locally, making sure you love it, grammar checks, checking the holidays, checking the dates. I used to hire my nephew. He's now 18, but I started hiring him when he was about 8 years old because he's so smart. He's brilliant to help me. He was one of the editors that would check for dates, and I'd pay him like $5 an error he found, and he thought that was so fun. I've also hired people that, you know, in my family that are super smart, but then I've also hired editors outside of my circle. Anyways, I walked through all of that, but it's important to test it to make sure you love your product, the margins are right. You know, you don't want to have copy that's too close to where the coils are going to punch in, right? Those are all these rookie mistakes when things just look janky. You've probably picked something up at the store, Marshall's, TJ Maxx, something, and you pick it up and open it, and it's like, oh, who missed this? You know, and it's like, you can tell when a robot made something versus like it was tender love and care that brought this product to life. So February to April is a great time for that process. Now, this timeline that I just gave you, this is the ideal timeline. And if you have ever sleep trained a child and tried to follow a schedule, one of the things I learned that I loved was never, ever, not one time ever will it actually end up exactly how the schedule is, which is tough for us type A people. I'm actually not type A, I'm type B, striving to be type A because my life was a mess. I'm a little bit of a hybrid, but I'm definitely a messier type B person. This isn't exactly it. This is what we're going for, okay? There will be nuances. Things will happen, but this is the ideal. It's about 8 months all in. It's basically getting pregnant and birthing a baby. You'll have about 4 months until you have your product in your hand. So it's a 4-month journey from out of your brain to into your hands, and then another journey of selling it, right? And ordering the full caboodle of products. Now, during this part where it's printing and it's shipping to you, this is where you can start working on your marketing, right? Once you have that turkey in the oven and they're printing it, it's on a boat, they're shipping it, this is where a lot of my students are pre-selling it. They use the sample and the strategies that I give them in launch school to start pre-selling it, to start making money, to pay for these products, which is great. Usually when people need to interject that Kickstarter into the timeline, that adds at least a month or two into this process. So people usually start doing some sort of Kickstarter around July, which sometimes can push things back, and we go through different scenarios of that. But as long as you have those products landing in October, that's really the whole thing that matters. So that's the plan. For me, because this is not my first time, I don't need quite as long of this phase down here from February to April of design, editing, and testing. I still go through the editing, but in terms of design, my design's already set. I already have my planners the way I like them. It's just a matter of updating the dates, updating the holidays, updating some of the prayers inside. Everything else is pretty much staying the same. Now, this past year, I added a brand new layout. I added a timestamp planner layout. So I might find some tweaks because this was my first year using that in 2026. So I do think there were some things that could be better. So we probably will make some edits to that planner just to fix a couple things stylistically. And I like to use that time for finalizing my cover choices and also dreaming of any new products or accessories I want to add to the collection. So I do still use that time, and it's nice because there is so much space in that time. It doesn't feel stressful. I'm not like waiting until May to go, I better start working on my planner. And then it's like, no, I want to start working on it early. I'll probably actually start working on it in January and December, just to get ahead of it as much as possible. I also like to think about any upgrades I want to make. So the way that I go about it when it comes to your second year, it's not as much work to launch your second planner in terms of the design and creation, right? Because you already have the template. And when you work with a designer or you DIY the design, you save that template and you have that design template to go back to and to recreate from. You're not inventing the wheel again. So what I do in order to help me in my process is around January, February, typically February, I will do a survey to my customers and ask them for their input. Which cover do you want? Which weekly layout are you going to choose? Of all these options, which one would you pick? And that helps me choose and make a data-informed decision, which is a great way to run your business. Data-informed decisions are super helpful. That way you're not, shooting yourself in the foot with ordering the wrong type of inventory that isn't wanted. And so I do that. I start prepping that survey in January, and then we deploy that, and that helps me make my final decisions when it comes to ordering my samples May 1st. So that is the process. That is it. And I would love to walk you through this more in depth if you want to come to the challenge right here, dreamprinting.co/challenge. You can also just head over to dreamprinting.co if you want to learn more about print school, if you want to get started. If you are watching this and you've already missed the boat or missed the deadline, I'm not sure when you're watching this YouTube video, but if you've missed it, there are other things you can do. You can start with an undated product and let that be your first launch to, launch with a journal first, launch with something else, not a dated product. You could also do an undated planner that you could launch in the spring. There's so many different ways you could do it. You could create a 90-day planner. You could start with a digital planner. You could do a quick focus group with your product. There's so many different ways to do it, but I wanted to give you the realistic view of what this really would look like. Now, when you join Print School, you have 2 years of access into the program. I give you 2 years not because it takes 2 years to create something. As you see, it takes about 4 months to create and then another 4 months to finish it. So I give you that because sometimes life happens and we need to take a pause or our timeline is off. So by giving you 2 years in the program, I'm ensuring that I'm going to see you through your first launch and hopefully your second launch. So I want to give you that support so that you can take the training wheels off and really move forward as your own printing company. I don't own the rights to any of your products. I don't make any money off of what you sell. This is all you. I'm here to empower you to become your own owner and operator of your printing business, of your brand, with your dreams and your ideas. So that's what Print School is all about. We have a thriving, beautiful student community I would love to welcome you into. It's an application-based program, so you can learn more and fill in your application here at dreamprinting.co. If you have any other specific questions that you would love for me to answer, put it in the comments, chat. What did you think of this episode? If you like this, Be sure to subscribe. I have a ton of videos on my channel that are here for you. You can actually watch the next one right here. I hope you have a beautiful day. You are so loved. Bye, guys.